Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A line so ingrained in our society that a nation was born from this principle. The ideals of liberty, justice, and equality under the law have transformed from their revolutionary origins to ideals embraced among societies across the world. The present is home to a more peaceful and prosperous world than history has ever seen before. We thrive in a multicultural utopia where any and all ethnicities and nationalities have an opportunity to participate. But just 60 years ago, the world was a very different place.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
For centuries, minorities across the world have struggled against racism, subjugation, or worse, in an effort to secure equality and liberty for themselves and their posterity. Emancipation has been a long, arduous process led by brave men and women across the world. These people have led to the formation of a new cultural paradigm, accepting and full of opportunities. About 80 years ago, in a hospital in Savannah, Georgia, deep in the American South, one such man, the most influential civil rights leader in American history, was born. But how and why is Martin Luther King so influential to us today?
Hello, fellow students. I'm Cory Williams. Martin Luther King Jr. was a wise and honorable man. He once said, "Do not judge a man by the color of his skin, but the content of his character." With that wisdom today, I and other minorities around the country have more opportunity.
I think that Martin Luther King has been a tremendous example for society and for students to really try to make a change in everyday life and respect people regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender, anything else that makes them unique.
For me, Martin Luther King's legacy is especially important as a student because it helps to ensure that no one is judged by the circumstances that they're born into, but rather by the choices they choose to make in their life.
He was the sort of man who could bring people into the conversation, but he was also absolutely fearless. He put himself time and again in physical risk of harm in the marches in which he engaged, in the bus rides he took across the country in a segregated South. So I see him as a moral force whose influence has extended well beyond his death in 1968. And I think his loss before its time was a huge loss for this country.
The modern world's been more touched by the peaceful Martin Luther King than the violence of other black leaders. He was the first to show, well, one of the first to show, that you can have widespread change without any violence. That you can put your message out there without taking a life. And his message has touched the uprisings in Egypt in April, the Tiananmen Square uprising in China, anti-Putin demonstrations in Russia. His message has been seen across the world. We've seen more peaceful demonstrations now than we've ever in the past. Overall, the world is much more peaceful now and much more willing to discuss these matters than it was 50 years ago.